So you survived.
I did survive. And you know what? I was laying there in a cold sweat and I was like, I'm missing the podcast. I'm missing talking to Ben Wheatley, which I'm really, really mad about because he's so great. I love everything that he's doing in the prog. And I just rewatched A Field in England not long ago, and it's a masterpiece. Um,
That is
but
my jam.
well, duh. But the but I'm sitting there in this cold sweat, lying in bed under 70 blankets where I am both too hot and too cold. And I was like, how has there not been a Dredd episode, at least a one shot of the fucking neurovirus hitting Mega City 1? How does Dredd deal with trying not to puke while he's shitting?
Well, I mean, not that specifically, but there is that episode where everybody catches fleas.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and he doesn't scratch.
Yeah.
And yeah, the kicker on that is
Not
very good.
Dredd could not beat this thing. I don't believe it. You can't. It's just plugging it. It's just Dredd plugging everything up. Oh god. Welcome
As
to
as
Another
as
Every
you can
Wednesday.
as you can see, Earthlets, we are starting again as we mean to go on. So this is
In orbit every Wednesday.
there we go.
Get 2000 AD now. Get 2000.
Galactic greetings and Borg Thung Earthlets, and welcome to In Orbit Every Wednesday. I am your host, Molchar, and this is your host, Chloe, returned from her sick bed. Alas, we
Yeah.
we had to talk to Ben Wheatley, the film director, last week without her, which was an awful shame because that was
Worst.
very enjoyable. I particularly, I did like a little cut of one of the things he was talking about meeting Brett Ewins, the Bad Company artist. Amongst many other things, when he was a kid. I put it up on Instagram, and he just commented. I tagged him. He commented underneath, just going, "Oh crap! If I'd known you were going to use the video, I would have sorted out the lighting and sat up straight."
It's always in hindsight. Just
But yeah, no. If you've not listened to that, please do go along. It was fantastic. What I found really interesting about it was that obviously I had a list of questions that I wanted to ask, and I just maybe I'm imagining this, but when I was asking for want of a better phrase, a corporate question, um, I could just see him be like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll answer this question." But then when we were nerding out about comics,
yeah.
he was fully on board.
Those are the best interviews.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
when you're just like kind of being dorks with
Yeah.
somebody that's as chatty as you are.
But yeah, no, it was great to chat to him again.
I mean, I'm just surprised that you didn't spend the whole time like the snake skin didn't come off and you weren't just asking him questions about 17th century. Like
Do you know that was his second time on the podcast, and I've restrained myself both times because nobody needs that. He made a film. He made a film. Like I don't need to be a nerd about it.
yeah, one of these days you can only contain it so long. You can only cork that one for so long.
Well, we have been threatening. Well, you have been threatening, and I'm holding the process up of doing like a film podcast. I know. I will. I'll get around to watching the film in question. But we should also do Field in England because then you can just sit back and not speak for 2 hours.
Well, the fun part would be because initially, like for the I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the podcast. I've been trying to get Michael Mulcher to watch Ken Russell's The Devils for probably 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his holdup is that he won't watch it until he has read The Devils of Loudun, which is the book that the movie is about. And he's like, "I haven't been able to get through it. I've been trying to read it since I was a teenager." And I'm like,
Mm.
"I'm going to die before you get to talk about this, because you're the perfect person to talk about it with, and yet you're holding yourself up and therefore holding me up." So we're gonna do a field in England, and that's gonna be even more fun because let me tell you, that movie's beautiful. I have a lot to say about it in terms of like the filmmaking aspect of it, but you're gonna trample me with the history, and I'm gonna come out smarter for it.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's fine. I will. I will. I promise. I promise.
This is
I,
on record. This is being recorded.
I know. I will get around to it. I promise. Seriously.
Okay.
Anyway,
Anyway.
anyway, for those of you with the bingo card, tick off. They're going to talk about the prog.
It's been a while, actually.
It has been a while, and thank you for your forbearance, Earthlets. Prog 2472, which is out this week from all good film vendors and the 2000 AD web shop and app, and not quite, but soon will be an issue that will be available in America.
Thank God I can actually start pushing this more easily on Americans.
The excellent news that was announced at the Comics Pro event in Los Angeles by my colleagues Owen and Steve is that 2000 AD is going to be available weekly in the United States of America for the first time in its history, because we'll be printing over in North America. So if you have a local comic book store, and obviously you're in the States, do ask them to add it to your pull list. It will be available through Luna Distribution. And encourage them to get copies for the shelves so that more people can be exposed to Thrill Power. Yeah, which is excellent news. But yes, 2472. What we're not going to talk about in any significant depth is the return of Brink.
But there's a good reason for it, to be
There
fair.
is a perfectly good reason, which is that in a week's time we're going to be chatting to Dan Abnett and INJ Colbard on this very podcast about the latest series. It will surprise nobody that this is a Brink fan
This
podcast.
is the Brink fan club.
Yeah,
It just is. And honestly,
Um,
like we've joked many times about, this being the case for several creators, but this is actually the Dan Abnett podcast.
John Wagner, Dan Abnett, John Smith.
Yeah.
we need to broaden our horizons a little bit. But
No,
new series, The Call of the Void begins
Yeah.
in this blog, and it's beautiful. And it's a kind of feature-length episode. I will briefly talk about it because obviously, no, just a little bit, because I saw we always get there is a certain type of ex-reader who has a very fixed idea in their mind of what 2000 AD should look like, and they're entitled to it. That's how they prefer their comics. I saw one negative comment about the art on the cover in particular,
Really?
and I want to tell that person, not that they're listening to this, I want to tell that person that life is made up of lots of opinions, but they're wrong. Objectively, they're wrong.
Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one.
Because what this opening episode of Brink does for me is yet again affirm that Ian Colbard is just one of the best creators working in comics right now.
Oh, I agree. Like he's also I don't know if you feel this way, but he's an artist who I feel like you can tell that he's having fun doing it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's there's a visual energy to the style where it looks like it is fun to draw. It looks like he's having a good time doing it instead of it, being a slog of redrawing and doing this over and over and over again, which I mean, it probably is because that's comics, but it looks like a good time. And that's kind of what I want to read.
Well, bear in mind, he's also drawing Brass Sun.
Yes.
And personally, there hasn't been, for me, any let up in the quality of either Brass Sun or Brink.
No.
Even though, he's probably working harder for 2000 AD than anybody else. And yet again, Dan has written a story about a meeting.
Love a meeting.
But and again, always spoilers. When we're talking about the Prog Earth, it's always spoilers. Make sure you've read your dose of Thrill Power for this week. But in the middle of this episode, which is double length, you just have this wonderful kind of Kubrick moment where you're on Luna. You're on the lunar habitat on the moon, and in the distance you can see the poisoned Earth. The burnt cinder hanging in the darkness of the cosmos, and it's just absolutely epic.
Mhm.
And for that to be like the paragraph break in in the middle of this episode, brilliant, love it.
Setting a tone.
Yeah.
It's honestly, it is little like it is details like that do make a strip, especially when you're doing it weekly. I feel like you have to put in the extra bits to give it some chutzpah,
Yeah, and it's one of Dan's calling cards
Mhm.
that he will place essentially a full stop in the middle of a paragraph. I'm straining the metaphor a little bit here, but you've got the mundane, you've got the talking heads, and then it's kind of monolith on the moon kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is great. But that's the end of the Brink chat. No
Yeah,
more
we
Brink.
can't do any more because we're gonna spend a whole lot of time doing that next week
Yeah.
with the people who are doing it, and you guys probably wanna hear that a hell of a lot more than us just going, "It's really good."
But we shall sojourn away from Brink for another time and talk about the rest of the program. We've got Judge Dredd Climate Crisis by Rob
Yeah.
Williams, Ned Hartley, PJ Holden, Jack Davis, and Annie Parkhouse. I love the fact that the cover for episode 1 last week by Cliff and Dylan was Dredd just in like this torrential downpour, and when we put that cover out for like the cover reveal the week before, everybody was like, yeah, that's what it's been like in the UK for like the last 2 months.
We're like, "Well,
Like,
this is normal."
yeah, with
This
this, I mean,
isn't weird at
the sun's
all.
gone down now, but today was such a treat because we actually saw the sun for about an hour or so.
My god.
Incredible.
Just in
Incredible.
it well, I mean, I'm saying this from the Pacific Northwest, so but yeah, just a tiny island full of people with no vitamin D. Just not a lick of it.
Even by the standards of a British winter, this one has been absolutely bloody miserable.
And in true fashion, we are somehow talking about the weather, which only feels which only feels appropriate for the
Yeah.
strip, right? I this felt like the concept behind this is basically catnip for me because I already you set the stage by the fact that the judges basically control the weather,
Yeah.
as it is. And I personally, I love a conspiracy theory. I don't believe in them, but I love a conspiracy theory, and that plugs right in to my love of like birds aren't real and you know birds aren't real and weather balloons are controlling everything and stuff like that. So the idea that the idea that the weather is being controlled, but also that it can be hijacked
Yeah.
is such a good concept. Like,
Yeah.
it's just good.
One of the greatest moments in for me in Dredd history was when Orlok seeded the reign with the Blockmania virus in the lead up to
Mhm.
the Apocalypse War, and PJ has clearly drawn some influence from the way that Steve Dillon drew the weather control station as a kind of basically a spoked wheel just
Mhm.
hanging in the sky. Um, and ever since that, I read that for the first time. It's like, well, of course, that's a technology that they have.
Yeah, of
Of
course.
course, of course, of course. Like the world is an irradiated wasteland by and large. It's completely poisoned. So of course you
It's
wouldn't want to
almost a
be.
necessity.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And even leaving out the flying rats that were in the cursed earth,
Yeah.
which haven't been referenced that often since. Um, but yeah, what I liked about this episode, which is part two of this story,
Mhm.
is it reminds me of like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies. I can
I can
take
see
all of them.
that. I
Yeah.
can see that.
But there's the one where they're um, trying to stop the massive Romulan planet
Mm.
drill from destroying the planet, and of course the red shirt, they do like a high altitude dive, and the red shirt goes in too fast and uh, hits the edge of this platform from which the laser is emanating, and just gets flipped underneath it and straight into the death ray.
Yeah.
And there's something about it. It's so stupid, but the guy is such an arsehole. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
great,
that's
wonderful.
fine.
We're done with him.
There's yeah, there's in space is scary. And I think like when you kind of go out into the dread world
Mm.
and you get not only what there is, of Earth is kind of an irradiated wasteland.
Yeah.
And then you take the fascism, absolute totalitarianism,
Mm.
and then you jettison it at light speed into the vacuum of space where somehow even there's threats afoot.
Mm.
And I think that like it's just layers and layers, and there's two kind of vignettes because there's a hostage situation going on, um, for takeover of like let's talk about the weather.
Mm.
Um, and there's also, Dread and comrades trying to fight the good fight question mark.
Mm.
Um, and It's, it's a good little back and forth. I think sometimes a lot of the strips, because they're so short every week, you have to focus in on one thing.
Mm.
But uh, what I think that Rob does so well, and Ned Hartley,
Mm.
does so well in this, is there is a nice bounce back and forth between what's going on,
Mm. Mm.
that just works out great. Also, I'm sorry, I'm talking way too much. Can we talk about PJ Holden?
If
I
we must.
love PJ. Like PJ's just a lovely human being to begin with, but like the art though, it's he's so dynamic with everything, and it's so like it's kind of thick. I
Yeah.
don't know how to like, it's thick and it's a little bit like it's stocky stuff.
Yeah. 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 The thing with PJ is, I mean, I've known him for Jesus Christ, 25 years.
Okay, old.
End of sentence. End of podcast.
I've known PJ. That's
I need,
the
I need to go and have a lie down. And but I'm never going to live this down. For me, he is one of those quintessential 2000 AD artists where you can understand and see his influences,
Mhm.
but he's always recognizably himself, and there isn't anybody else that looks like PJ.
Yes.
on the page.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Um, and you know the particular way that he does uh, you know faces, the way he does action. Um, you've got a lovely bit of body horror with one of the judges having his arm ripped off, which is always fun.
mm,
Um, and you know, his is one of those styles where I think some people mistake the simplicity of it for, um, or think that there's something lacking in that, and there isn't. There's so much going on in the page. You know exactly what's happening at all times, and it's an odd thing to say about comics, but there are an awful lot of comic book artists that you can't say that about.
y yes, yes.
You know?
I think there's a lot to be said for the less is more of it
Oh yeah,
all, but
yeah,
also
yeah.
I okay, bear with me on this.
Mhm.
I don't feel like it's necessarily less because there's a lot involved in every single one of these panels,
Yeah.
but it's an exercise of restrained maximalism.
Mhm.
It's a very busy thing that is in front of your face, but this is clearly an artist who knows how to edit himself,
Yeah.
knows when to stop. There's a
Oh,
panel
no,
of
I can confirm PJ does not know when to stop.
well, we don't want him to, so, you know. There's a panel of Dredd, like, coming down on the station, and he's coming in
Mm.
too fast, and the motion lines, of, like, Dredd coming down like this terrible little Nazi missile are, uh are really like, it was I don't know why I love that panel in particular, but you can see, like, the force behind it, and
Mhm.
it's almost anime-like in a way.
That's always been an interesting thing about his artwork is that there there are aspects of that, but I think they come from you know, and he's free to correct me if I'm wrong. I think they come from other sources other than manga.
Oh, I'm sure it is, but I'm
You
just
know,
like, it's kinda what popped into mind.
it's more in McMahon and Ascara
Oh, sure.
and things like that, you know. But something I remember from many years ago is the importance of forced perspective.
Mhm.
Like you'd be surprised how key that is to creating the notion of dynamism and
Yeah.
action. And you know that page that you mentioned, uh, the two key action frames are extreme force perspective.
Yeah, it's, like, shot from above like this, and then a hand coming towards the camera and another one, and it's yeah, it makes the page move.
Yeah,
And it like,
absolutely.
it makes the eye move the right way too, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Anyway, PJ, you're doing everything great, you know? Good job.
But yes, let's move on for and you know it's interesting to see where the story is going. But let's move on to this because we've got uh, Hearn and Shuck, David Barnett, Lee Milmore, Gary Caldwell, and Annie Parkhouse, with King Arthur as Brian Blessed, or the other
Yeah,
way around.
for real. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
You can hear it too.
Yeah. Um, excuse me. And you know, putting the team together. Um, it's an interesting one because there's it was something I wanted to touch on with Ben Wheatley last week, but didn't really get around to doing was talking a bit more about kind of folk horror and folklore and stuff like that. And um, folklore as the original comics,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Yeah, yeah.
and it really strikes me again, you know, looking at Lee's design for all of these characters, um, the distinctiveness of folkloric characters of
Mhm.
personas. You know, they're all very different. I saw somebody on Blue Sky saying, you know, they knew about Kelpies, the Scottish um, uh, folklore demon or whatever it is. But what the English ones, and people came back with a massive, great, big, long list of
Mm,
all kind of local ones, and even where they are similar, they are very different. But both in what they do and how they look.
sure.
So yeah, it just struck me as not
I
not that
I got
dissimilar.
I got distracted by him trying to explain the concept of the internet to King Arthur. Mostly because like Wenches Through the Scrying Glass is totally a band name. Um but I I the one that this is so stupid. The thing that really stuck out to me on this one
Yeah.
was him talking about how he was like, "Surely there is still wenching." And he's like, "No, not without consent, but you can, basically look through this magic thing. You can see plenty of wenches. Wenches without robes. There are many ways to see them. Wench hub. Only wenches." I was like, "Wench hub?" That okay, that's actually pretty good. That gave me a laugh. Only
No, great
wenches.
stuff. Great stuff. Um, and then we're on to Brink, but we shall make
Can't
our
do
way.
that. Did
Can't do
that.
that. And then it's the discarded. Peter Milligan, Kieran McKeown, Jim Boswell, and Simon Boland. And this is interesting. Number one, Kieran's art has developed quite nicely over the course of this. He
I
seems
think
to
so
be
too.
building confidence as he's going along.
Yes, and I think, I don't know, the, uh the guy here in the basically the baddie
Mm.
of this episode, he's kind of giving Mean Machine to me.
Yeah,
Do you see that? Do you kinda get that? Like, at least in an aesthetic sort of way.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
giving, like, 1990s bodybuilder Mean Machine.
Mm.
Um, but I continue to be kind of fascinated by the discarded, because uh I keep thinking that it's coming to a close, and then it kind of continues on,
Mm.
but it's the point that it's making in the process seems to get bigger and bigger. Which,
Mm.
I mean,
Mm.
God, that's come on, Chloe, that's the point of storytelling. Um, get it together. Uh, but I love that, her father is locked away with this computer chip, and then they're trying to revolutionize and trying to reclaim some autonomy for these, discarded peoples. And um it does accurately show, like, sometimes how the idea of revolution and the idea of trying to head up revolution and all these things can lead right back into a certain level of tyranny. Like, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and
Mm.
that goes for any side. Uh, so it's interesting to see that play out in this world.
Mm.
I don't feel it's necessarily dissimilar in some ways to some Dread stories that we've seen in that respect, though.
Yeah, and I think you're right to kind of highlight the notion of revolution. It's interesting. Mike Duncan, the podcaster, did the history of Rome, and then he moved on to revolutions, where he goes to, well, not all of the revolutions, but the major revolutions. So starts with the English Civil War, does the American Revolution, French Revolution, the revolution in Haiti,
Mhm.
the Russian. Don't know if he does one on the Mexican. Anyway, um, and then he started doing a fictional one about a revolution on Mars. But one of the interesting things about that is seeing how the concept of revolution changes over time, because you use that word in a modern context, and you think of the great revolutionary leaders, uh, you
Sure.
know, and things like the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution, which are inextricably linked to tyranny.
Mhm.
Um, Whereas the Enlightenment notion of revolution is still a vitally important one. You know, it's not just turning the dial so that those who are on the bottom are on the top, and
Yeah.
but actually, it's the notion of emancipation, and that's one of the reasons why there's a couple of books on my to read list about the Haitian Revolution, um, and how uh, the powers that be saw revolution as a virus
Mhm.
that they had to stamp on.
It's a cancer to be cut out, you
Yeah.
know?
In case before it infects everyone else. So yeah, it's often in a way in the best interests of established powers that revolutions fail or become corrupted
Mhm.
into themselves. But when you when you're talking about worlds in which technology is a fundamental part of how people live their life, you know, it's literally part of
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Um, the notion of revolution, the idea of change, becomes a lot more complex as a concept because what are you changing?
Yeah.
What you know? Are you wanting a clean slate? Are you just wanting other people to be in charge? You know that you might agree with more,
Yeah.
um, and you know, Milligan in particular, I think is one of those writers who is very good at talking about the multifaceted nature of change,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
you know?
That's his whole deal.
Mm,
That's his jam. I think that's, adding technology into the idea. I mean, it's not it's a concept that has been done, you know,
mm, mm,
revolution and technology and the human element and oppression and all of these things. But I kind of and I feel like it's applicable to kind of where we're at right now in real life too, which is,
mm,
you have these contrasting sides to a social moral argument. But if you're both utilizing and being influenced by the same technology, the same the same pipeline, the
mm,
same form of technological communication, uh, how does that play out when one side is trying to uh, prove they are the right one?
mm, mm,
And and then in this case, of course, with the discarded, it's like, nope, this computer chip has decided that it's just other flavor of fascism time.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think it illustrates, pun, um,
Yeah.
the the quandary that we find ourselves in.
Mhm.
That, particularly in a world increasingly where, kind of supranational companies and corporations and whatnot, are considering themselves outside of the bounds not just of national law, but also of international law, and have leverage when
Mhm.
considering themselves outside the bounds of those laws. Um, the nature of revolution becomes a difficult one to quantify.
Yeah.
And you know, that's as you said, that's dread all over
Yeah.
as a concept. You know, be careful what you wish for, um, etc.
The future is scary and hopeless, and yet we prevail. That's figure it out.
There, but for the grace of Grud, go we.
Yeah, exactly. I think, because I think this is the second to last issue or episode of The Discarded. I think they're the final one might be next week. Maybe. I'm really bad at keeping up with this, sorry, that's not I'm good at talking, not at remembering. Um, but yeah, I'm curious to see what this last little leg is going to give us. Because frankly, Milligan also likes to pull the rug out from under you, and so who
Yeah.
knows? I also think that he's somebody who, despite a lot of the, kind of hopefulness. I hesitate to use that word when it comes to Milligan, but with the hopefulness, I feel like he subverts himself a lot, and so a lot of his stories tend to be have hopeful endings, but not happy ones.
Mm.
So I'm curious to see if like he's gonna. Uh, I like to think that he can hear my thoughts and is just like fuck Chloe in particular. I'm going I know. I'm going to and, like, she's read everything that I've written, and now I am going to prove her wrong because she's terrible. And I would love that, actually. So, we'll see.
Just a reminder that we have Bad Company on our list of future podcast
Oh my
episodes.
god, yes.
Yeah, but that's
I'm really excited for that one. That's
before we do that, I've got to reread it because it's been a long time.
and you should. It's one of those books that when you go back and reread it, if it's been a while, you just go, "Oh, fuck me, this is so great."
Well,
And then you go,
particularly after Ben Wheatley's comments last week about Brett Ewing, you know, an artist who's always been in like my top three
"Oh, of course."
of 2000 AD artists. I kind of because I'd gone back and reread The Haunting of Sector House 9, which is a relatively early story for Brett on Dredd. So not as necessarily as for me, not as polished as the stuff that he would do on Judge Anderson.
Mhm.
But even then, it's got just there's just that design sensibility to the whole thing, you know, and like a massive a wall covered in mouths, like screaming mouths.
Well, that's the thing, right? It wasn't just um drawings. It wasn't just illustration. It was design.
Yeah,
Design.
and I mean this is a whole other episode.
Yeah.
You can
We're just
you
off
look
on one again.
yeah. I mean you look at the people that Brett influenced. You know, Jamie Hewlett, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, because we are definitely up on our time.
Oh yes, we are, aren't we?
Um Speaking of Jamie Hewlett,
Mm.
um if for whatever reason there are people in America going to Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle this coming weekend, please come to my panel about Deadline and how Deadline influenced way more stuff in pop culture than it has literally ever gotten credit for. Uh, yeah, and that's on Saturday at 5 o'clock. Look it up. It's called All Gas, No Brakes. I feel I appropriately named that. And I'm going to try
I mean, that's
really,
the
really
slogan for this podcast. Let's be brutally honest.
yeah. I'm gonna try really, really, really hard not to spend the entire 40 minutes talking about Philip Bond. I'm gonna try really hard, no promises, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. So if for whatever reason there are people visiting or living on the West Coast and are going to Emerald City, please come and see it. It's going to be very, very fun. That's it. That's my that's
Well,
always you can't let
I'm very sad I can't be there. I thoroughly enjoyed Emerald City the year that I went.
we're gonna be recording it, so I might be able to put it up for people to watch.
Excellent.
Woo.
The other thing we wanted to mention is that we realized it has been some time since we did a Q&A episode.
Yay.
So if you have burning questions for us, for Tharg the Mighty,
Mhm.
about anything really, but you know, keep it on topic, then send them to thrillcast, all one word, THRILLCAST at 2000ad.com. You can send them to us on Blue Sky,
Yeah.
where I'm at Molcher, MOLCHER bsky.com, whatever. And Chloe is
Cunter S. Thompson at Cunter S. Thompson.
professionalism. Thy name is Chloe.
Yeah. I'm also because this actually worked really well last time.
Oh, you
I
did.
set up an anonymous submission thing. So if you have a question that you want to ask us, but you don't want us to like read a name out loud or anything like that, um, I will have that pinned up on my Blue Sky. Feel free to submit things. We're happy to answer them. That actually was how we got a lot last time. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to see more.
Oh, before we go, I did just want to return to this week's prog to say thank you very much to Julian Tipton of Worcester
Yeah.
for his lovely letter to the letters page of 2000 AD about the podcast. Just a quick line on how much I enjoy the weekly podcast. The main reason for the love is that it acts as a fantastic resource into stories that I haven't read. I was a weekly reader between 1985 and 1995, but then drifted away until 2019. Obviously, I'm missing a huge chunk of stories. Mulchart and KLO-E are brilliant hosts with a disturbing breadth of knowledge on all things and other things. 2000 AD. By tuning every week, I have an increased 2000 AD library and a decreased savings account. Keep up the excellent work with all things 2000 AD, and I'm hoping that Scott Ian of Anthrax may make an appearance on the podcast. Splundig Verthrig. So, yes, thank you very much, Julian, for the very kind words.
Yeah. Thank you very
And just a point on the letters page. Somebody asked the other day, why do you not have a more regular letters page? People don't send in letters anymore.
That's a shame. I used to love letters pages.
Yeah, it's literally like
More of that.
Mark says this. He's like he prints what he receives,
Mhm.
and the fact is, uh, thanks to social media, the art of emailing or writing into 2000 AD has fallen by the wayside. So if you want a letters page, you've got to submit letters, Earthlets.
Yes,
That's
please
really
do, because letters pages need to make a comeback. So help us out with that because they're so great. They're just great. Just say what
and
you think.
and if you want to praise the podcast, then please do. New oil rations for these droids are very welcome. But we are very much out of time. So we're going to be back in 7 days' time, where we're going to be welcoming Dan Abnett and Ian Colbard,
Yay.
the blockbuster team from Brink, onto this very show. Very much looking forward to that. So, again, and if you've got questions that you'd like us to ask them, same thing, thrillcast@2000ad.com. Messages on Blue Sky. Looking forward to that. So, we'll be back in a week's time, Earthlets. And until then, it's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from KLO-E. And until then, Splendid Verthrig.
See you next week.
Get 2000 AD now. Get to